Today we need to get into V showing emotion during a show and what happened there. I want to get into a fan that was arrested after bothering V and what happened. And then we need to talk about Jung Kook apparently being touched. So hey Dumplings, it's Dave Desai. Hate it or not, make sure to subscribe with the notification bell on. Grab your dumplings, hey Spilling Mug merch, and let's go. We have a lot of fans or stalker allegations. The first one is one that is more chill, and I understand the hate a bit, but also not really a big deal. Now, since the original poster claimed that they don't want their video shared, obviously that won't be, but screenshots will be used. Apparently, a couple of the girls were having a girls' night out, and they turned and noticed that there was a group of people sitting at a table. Very quickly, they realized who everyone was. These were all Jung Kook's friends, Cha Eun-woo from Astro and Jaehyun from NCT. They were all sitting for dinner when the girls came over and asked for an autograph. Jung Kook didn't seem to fully understand what was happening, but eventually Cha Eun-woo replied to say to the girls that everyone was just having their own personal time and asked basically in the nicest way to have the girls leave. This was not really an issue because I think it's normal to go up to someone who you like and say hi or whatever. I think the issue online was that since they rejected the girls, the video should have never been posted because now fans can tell where the boys went, and if the boys enjoyed the food there or wanted to come back there would be people waiting or whatever. Now, on the other hand, some people could say it's quite rude for them to reject an autograph or not really acknowledge and say hi to the girls. I can see that stance as well. The girls were recording everyone, and as conspicuous as you can try to make your phone and recording, it's just not. It actually is quite obvious when you're recording someone. And I think the reaction would be different if the girls had gone up calmly, said hi, and then asked for an autograph. Given the guys probably saw the girls recording and then asked for an autograph, they probably assumed it wasn't just going to be that. The girls would want to stick around and talk and fangirl, and they just weren't in the mood to be on in that case. I understand why, because saying no to an autograph that Cha Eun-woo did was much kinder than what would have come out should he have said stop recording. It was believed after this, the girls waited until all the guys were done eating to then approach them again, and apparently one of the girls posted a story to say that she touched Jung Kook's arm. People were then infuriated by this because they made it clear that they didn't want to be bothered, and then to wait for them and then go up to them later, people thought it was weird. And this is why I personally believe that you should never be so starstruck in a moment where you can't think properly and you're doing things that in any other context would seem creepy or weird. Because being starstruck messes up how you perceive the world and reality, and it doesn't allow you to think straight. In this case, I am not so upset that this even happened because it's clear that they were just starstruck. People were upset over the fact that the girls touched Jung Kook on his arm. However, that part wasn't recorded, and we have no idea how that interaction happened. If this was a more consensual touch or if it wasn't. We assume it wasn't because she was fangirling. But just because she did maybe one or two things that people wouldn't like doesn't mean she did that every single time, if that makes sense. We should only be judging things individually, and chances are if you ran into the boy sitting there too, you'd probably have a similar reaction. So let's not judge too hard. And this is more so a neutral standpoint here because the internet has already attacked her. Although maybe for good reason, I want to balance it out. However, we are seeing some craziness with V getting attacked recently, and the attacks as usual make no sense. So if you are not aware, not too long ago, V held a fan meet, and he did it at college, and a lot of fans were picked via a lottery system. The fan meet consists of dancing, small performing, and then some games. He ended up inviting Jimin to the fan meet, in which they ended up playing guessing games and that sort of stuff. There was a moment where V had to mimic a specific emotion, and he, I think, was cold or something. So he pretended to be cold or freezing. He was trying to portray that emotion and getting very emotional or very good. This apparently being not problematic at all was seen as problematic. So when this clip of him imitating cold was snipped and then posted online as a sort of meme to use when replying to people, it got a lot of backlash. People were taking the video clip to say that he was mimicking or mocking disabled people, with comments saying that he was mocking people with autism. This bothers me so much beyond just defending Taeyang. First of all, what autistic person does this? This is not an action of an autistic person. It's just not. There's so many people who are autistic who you can't even tell. So that makes no sense. Also, he wasn't doing that. If the context of the clip was to mock autistic people and then V did that, then yeah, he's mocking. But the context was not that. So everyone saying he is mocking autistic people are actually the people who are ableist, because they see autistic people as such. They're the only one seeing that. The majority of people watching never got autism from that action he did. And these are comments I talk about where it's simply just not even worth an idol or any public figure to respond to. These people think with their whole heart that V is doing something when in reality they're the problem, not V. And not even problematic because they're accusing someone of doing something that is not being done, but problematic because they think that this is what a disabled person looks like. They made that category in their head. Oh, this is how a disabled person acts, and then when they see anything that resembles that, they think it's mocking. But that initial labeling that they did in their head is problematic. This is why people say those who mock and insult others are actually sad or depressed themselves first, and that it's a call from the inside, the house sort of situation. The association being made when it wasn't even made at the event is very telling on how they think. And I wish the people who wrote the comments like that would get their just desserts or karma, because it's absolutely sick that they associate such a thing. And I wonder how they treat actual disabled people then. And this is also tough to express on X because you only get so many characters and those haters are not going to read your reply. V was also in a bit of trouble after a fan was believed to be put in jail after following V. And this is very interesting. People think that the fan maybe came from the fan meet or perhaps had followed V home from the fan meet, so was aware that V was probably going to go home after the fan meet and maybe tracked where he was going to either follow V later or follow V that day. The timeline is very unclear, but it was believed that V was stopped when he was in the elevator of his building recently, and then someone had followed him and gave him marriage papers. This is obviously very creepy because V probably really didn't like the idea that this stalker even knew which apartment complex he lived in. And to have marriage documents pre-filled and then give it to V is quite weird. Apparently from those documents, V was able to track the stalker down, and then Big Hit actually announced that they arrested her. V then posted online recently that he is actually okay and asked armies not to worry. If this was an incident that happened closer to the fan meet date, it was likely something that couldn't be reported or talked about publicly until now due to the lawsuit or the alleged arrest of the stalker. Big Hit addressed this situation as an extreme violation of privacy, and it's one thing to hand V marriage documents during a fan meet, airport, or even outside his apartment, which is still not great, but to go inside the building is very bad and very scary because there's a big chance the fan knows which floor he's on. The fan obviously knows his schedule to be able to even chase him or find him in the elevator, so that is very scary as to what she could do. Also, being in the elevator, maybe without security, and then having this fan literally a couple of feet apart is scary, as what could she even do? She can easily put a tracking device on him or hit him, which people were definitely worried if he was okay due to those concerns, which of course V answered to say that he was actually fine. My real question, and I'm sure you guys are thinking this too, is what did this stalker expect when handing marriage papers to someone who they've never met in real life and they have never spoken to? I don't understand how there's so many people who are mentally so unwell. How do these people live in such delusion that they believe that just upon meeting someone that person will agree to marry them? V and this stalker have never spoken, obviously. And on top of that, in 2023, people don't just marry someone because they're hot. So if this stalker thought that they could just look really cute and then V would marry her, that makes no sense. V has seen no shortage of hot girls. He has traveled the world. Also, in what world would, after a little stranger who is stalking you proposes to you, would you say yes? Like a genuine question to the stalker. If the stalker had a stalker, would they be okay and agree to marry the stalker, or think that it's weird that they have a stalker? Because it's weird. Let me know what you think. Make sure you check out Patreon for more videos. A link down below. Thanks. Just love your comments right here. Love you. Bye.